Okay, this is to install the drop while in a table. I'm doing this at the bench. You can see the screw that I just had was the 1-inch one, and I'm showing the drop now with the notch. The notch, of course, is going to the right on this, and of course I've already greased it and put the pad. Now I'm showing the drop adjuster. I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me while I do it. You might see me put the camera down several times and might have a little bump, but it's just to readjust myself so I can do it one-handed. You can see I use a mirror when I'm doing this, so I can see underneath what I'm doing as well as up top. This helps. You can see I'm rotating it. Now you got the adjuster there, and now I got to try to put the 3/4 one. I'll show you that one in a second. 3/4, there you go. Okay, and then you bring that one up. This one comes up through the bottom underneath. There, I dropped the adjuster. See, like I said, I'm one-handed. Sorry about that. I'm trying to hold my camera and do the video at the same time. You're going to see me stop here, and then you're going to see the nut actually installed after. Just give it a second. There we go. And I actually got, you put that up, and you have a washer, lock, nut washer, and then the bolt. I'm going to tighten this down a little bit on here. Don't want to tighten it all the way because you're going to make some adjustments. You're going to see that a bit. Okay, now this is the what we call the Z bracket. This goes underneath, and you'll see where this goes. It goes over the pin, and that bolt that we just put in before we put the drop in, the actual drop part. You see my hand there, and of course you can see it through the mirror. You can see it. And now I'm going to flip it underneath so you can see the Z bracket and how it fits in. See that? Okay. Now we're going to put a washer and a lock washer and then the nut on that, and then we're going to tighten that down a little bit. And like I said, the tricky part to all of this is making adjustments to find that sweet spot where the drop works really well. This can take, might not take very long on some cases, and in some cases it could take a little longer than you want to, but you want to make sure that this drop works fine. It will work for years to come, of course, so making sure this is done right. So I use a flat screwdriver to adjust the parts underneath, so I can adjust the Z bracket and also the adjuster itself in some spots. You see I'm struggling here to do this. I'm trying to get this to set up right, and then I check it for tightness. I don't want it to be too tight. I want it to be able to drop on its own. That's the tricky part. You got to get it in that there are little sweet spots, because you don't want it too far over, it won't snap properly, and if it's too tight, then it won't drop on its own, and it can bind up. So you make sure that you get just right. And you can see I'm struggling here. I'm showing that I'm trying to get this to drop properly. Keep using that flat screwdriver in there so I can adjust that Z bracket and also the adjuster itself, different positions. And then once I find that sweet spot, that's when I tighten everything all down, make sure all those nuts are tight and that whole thing is right tightened down. So see, here I am. I'm trying to adjust the drop itself to make sure it runs smooth, and I'm still making some adjustments. I'm not happy with it yet. Of course, I'm a little fussy, but it helps to be fussy when and it's good for the customers. Yeah, I got it. I think I got it working. Just not quite. I need to make a few more minor adjustments just to be sure, just to get it right. Now, once I get this done, we'll be putting the ball and spring. So that's what I want. I want it just nice and lit. There we go. Nice. That's a nice fit. Now I'm going to come around. I've got that done. Now I'm going to put the first ball into the tube. I'll show you the ball. Here we go. I'm going to put that into the tube. After this, I put the camera down and flip it so that you can see what I'm going to do from underneath a little bit better. I get the camera in the right spot. Here we go. See, show you. There. And I'm going to install the spring. This is a little bit difficult sometimes because the spring is longer than what the section is. And you have to maybe bend it a little bit just to get it into the tube. And then you put the second ball at the end. Now you want to make sure you don't lose this ball out of here when you're putting the tension rod, which I'm going to do next. Tension rod. Put this in, and then I always like to, after I get the tension rod in, I like to test the drop, make sure it's working okay. The tension just loose, and then tension up a little bit, test it, tension up a little bit, test it, tension up a little bit, test it. You'll see me doing this in a minute with the drop. There we go. See, I tested the drop. Testing. Okay, making sure that it snaps right. I get a nice good snap. And then I'm going to adjust the tension some more. Test it. You can see. Keep pushing it up on it. Testing it. Make sure. And then I get to the point where I put the tension all the way up. And now test this. Make sure that the drop, when the tension's all the way up, the drop shouldn't drop unless there's a ton of weight on it. Test it some more. I like to test my drops a lot, make sure that they're working good. I don't know about anybody else in the shop, but anyway, that's another story. Oh, did I say that out loud? Anyway, now I'm going to show putting on. Here we have the kicker plate. And the kicker plate on that black bolt that was sent, you put the 2 lock washers, 1 washer, the kicker plate, and then 1 lock washer. And then we're going to install it into the pin, into the hole of the pin. And of course this requires a 3/16. Again, that was a 3/16 Allen key. For installing this. Again, I'm doing all this one-handed while I hold the camera. I gotta adjust it, push it back, course, I wouldn't be doing this if it had two hands, because I'd have my finger in there to keep that kicker plate from turning while I'm turning the Allen key. That's what I usually do, put my finger in there so I keep it from turning. But I gotta keep using the screwdriver to put it back straight. Okay, now I'm going to install the part that keeps the foot pedals from kicking back too far when you got the spring on them. And this is the foot adjuster. This is what it's called. You can see there's the nut, a washer on one side, and then on the other side you have a washer, a lock nut washer, and a bolt, or a nut, I should say. And then we're going to now install a foot pedal. Again, I'm doing this one-handed, so bear with me while I try to do this. Put the pin, get it adjusted. You're going to see me grab a hammer here in a minute because it's a little tough to get this pin in, just to knock it in a little bit. And then I'll put the cotter pin thing to keep that from sliding back out. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide the that bracket down so it touches the pedal, and it pushes the pedal down against the kicker plate. And what I want is just a little bit of play in there, like I'm showing here in the video. There's a little bit of play, so you're not going to interfere with the dropping. It's just a little bit, and then you're going to put the spring on that. You're going to tighten up the nuts on that plate. Of course, again, I'm doing this one-handed. Ignore all the dust on my workstation. You'll see me put the, and these are 7/16 nuts washers. Same with the other nuts that were sent. They're all 7/16. So you only need a couple of wrenches, 7/16, or one ratchet and one wrench. That's 7/16 for this. And you're going to need a set of pliers so that you can pull the spring up. And then after this is all done, then it's just a matter of putting back that front bracket that holds the two handles with the spring, and putting that back on the front in the spot where those two holes are in the drop. And putting the walking beam back in, putting it back into the clevis, putting the pin through, and your drop is done. And here we are with the spring, and that's going on. Of course, this drop is the spring. Usually I'd have to cut this spring because this is a little bit shorter, but the one you have is longer, so the spring will fit. And hopefully